Hey, it's Drybear. I'm a filthy transmog hog, and I've been farming the Primal Storms for all of the transmog sets, and also getting all my alts up to 70. I'm almost done with getting all of them to 70, and set up for Season 1 of Dragonflight. But I've been to every single one of the Primal Storm locations, so I wanted to share my knowledge on where to farm, what to pull, which storms are good, which ones to avoid because they kind of suck. You can catch the ones on rotation, as well as any details about Primal Storms in general. I do have another video going over the basics. I figured this would be kind of like a knowledge dump or a wisdom dump on how to maximize Primal Storms to get the most out of them. If you have any questions or comments for me, you'll find me live on twitch.tv/Drybear. See you there. Let's get into it. The first thing is going to be the Primal Storms vendor and what are Primal Storms. So Primal Storms started with Season 1 of Dragonflight. They are these limited time window events that trigger all over the map. That you'll be able to attend, kill mobs, and then they'll be marked with an imbue. You'll get a special currency, which is your elemental overflow. This has no cap on it. You don't have any restriction on how much you can farm per day, per week, whatever. And then you'll come here in Valdrakken, which is right here in the corner on this side here. You come down here to this, and there's gonna be two vendors in here. The one on the right gives you the blue gear, the base gear. This is where you'll get all the transmogs. And you use Elemental Overflow to buy these. It does have a unique mount and a unique pet, two unique pets in it that you can pick up. So once you have these, there you go, it's all part of the vendor. Then you'll get a second currency, which are these storm sigils. You can get 9 of them a week, one from the quest and then 2 from each element. So you'll be able to stack that up. And then once you have them, you can use your baseline item plus the storm sigils that you have to upgrade the 359 blue gear to 385, just to kind of keep you moving as you do that event. Keep in mind that the transmogs are exactly the same. So in order to unlock these primal storm, primal elements transmogs, you just need to get the blue gear. The purple gear that you upgrade looks exactly the same. It's all part of the same set. So to get these sigils, you just have to complete one of each element per week, plus the weekly quest that you get, and you can get 280 or 385 gear. Now let's talk about Primal Storms, which ones are good, which ones are bad, and how to maximize your efforts. So the storms pop up and they last 2 hours. This had changed a lot. I can tell you confidently now, this is exactly the schedule they have. They've changed this schedule many times on launch, but it looks like it's locked in. This is the one they're going with. So it pops up and you'll get 2 storms at once, one of 2 different elements, either fire, water, air, or earth. And they will be usually in 2 different zones. And they can actually randomize. Sometimes it's Azurspan and Thaldraszus. Sometimes you get Waking Shores Thaldraszus or Northern Plains and Thaldraszus. It can all vary. But these storms last for 2 hours. Then they will turn off on the hour, and then they will be down for an hour. So you have this 2-hour uptime, 1 hour downtime, and then the new storm will pop. So if you're farming these regularly, you can use that on your schedule. You know, when it pops up, know that you have 2 hours. When that ends, you have a free hour. I've been leveling or doing dungeons or something like that when the hour's down, then you can go find the next storm. Now, once you get to a storm area, it's not perfectly clear where the storm actually is. So when they mark it on your map, there'll just be like this marker icon. There's a good one at Scalecracker. There's a good one right next to Obsidian Citadel. But you'll have this marker. It'll tell you what element it is. And then there will be these floating elements in the air that actually show you the area, but it's not clearly defined. So there's one surefire way for you to know which mobs to kill to get the essence. And that is this right here. So they will have a buff on them or a debuff on them that marks them. So anytime there is a mob that is marked and will drop elemental overflow, they will have this imbued debuff on them that looks just like that. So just when you're in the area, look for the mobs. I've seen people walk away and then start killing mobs that aren't marked with this debuff. If they don't have the debuff, they're not going to drop the elemental overflow for you. Now let's talk about all of the storm locations and go over which ones are the best. And honestly, there's a couple of them that even if they're up, I would think it would be better for your time to do something else, just because the drop rate is really low, the density of mobs is really low, and you're getting maybe 1/3 of the elemental overflow you would at another location. Let's start at the top of the map and work our way down. Scalecracker Keep actually was one of the ones that I thought was terrible. It'll pop up marking like this spot here on the map. but it's actually insanely good. The way you make it insanely good, and the reason why I thought it was terrible, it'll pop up in here and it will affect everyone from this ramp down here up to the top of the keep. You can do a big pull here. You can do a couple big pulls here. You can grab this bull with these mobs here, and then you can go and grab these. And that's what I was doing initially. And the drop rate was actually terrible. It was really bad. But the secret sauce to this location is inside the keep itself. So you can grab these two here and go inside, but you have a 4 spawn up here at the very top. So you have these 4 here. When you go down to the middle, you have this guy, 2 on the side, 2 on the side, 2 over here, and then 3 on the other side, and then this guy. Pull all of these constantly, and if you have enough people, you can gather them all up. And the respawn rate on these mobs is insanely high. Get a group, even if it's just a couple people, because not all of these are elites. Each one of these will drop 2 to 5 elemental overflow. The boss will always drop 5 at least, and you can easily clear these, and these respawn really fast, like to the point where you can live inside this keep and just kill them regularly and get tons of overflow. The next one is probably the best one on all of the Dragon Isles in general, and that's going to be Obsidian Citadel. You will get a spawn. It'll show up like right about here on the map. Once you get this one I would say you almost never want to skip. Not only is it Obsidian Citadel farm, so you can actually farm these mobs for key fragments and for key framings, turn it in, get your rep with Tibelian or Rathian, which unlocks good stuff for you at 389, and then plus the other unlocks for your dragon riding. But it's also insanely good for elemental overflow. Every single one of these elite guys drops 5. The worms, which people sometimes overlook, drop 11 overflow each. So every time you kill one of these worms, it's 11 overflow. This pack right here is 10. It's insanely good. Not only that, but you have a ton of rare spawns in here. You have the worm in there, you have Char inside the cave, an elemental in there. And then you also have, as people are handing in keys, you unlock the special spawn events like Deathwing and things like that, where they'll come around, they'll spawn, or Shadow Death, whatever his name is. Those will help you get rep, you'll get more out of it. Make sure you're pulling the worms, they give you a ton. Grab those over there, a good pull right here, one outside. I wouldn't go in the caves. You can just do this whole route as you go around, get a group together and pull everything that's elite and just keep going around and around and around. And as you kill them, you'll get tons of overflow. There's also a secret storm that doesn't really obey the normal laws of the rotation here in Dragonbane Keep. It will spawn right here in this little valley, and I think it spawns only with the siege. So when the siege happens, it'll trigger a special element, Primal Storm. It doesn't, it can be the third. The other two can be going on. This one can be up when the other ones are down, and it's kind of time limited. This one kind of sucks. It's just here during the siege, and then while you have this active, you're just pulling these mobs. The worms are still here, so you can still get a decent amount. There's just, the pulls here are awkward. There's not that much. And you can honestly, I've had a group here where we just cleared the whole valley. There wasn't really anywhere else to go. You can go down here or even more because these will be imbued as well. But again, very sparse, not that many mobs, very easily, quickly cleared. I wouldn't recommend this one unless you're just doing it while you're doing the siege. Moving on to Anarian Plains, one of the best ones, probably second only to Obsidian Citadel, is Nakudan Hold. This one is amazing. The density here is incredible. Doesn't matter what the element is. You'll be able to get if you have a big group, you can see how easy it is to pull all of these, get some really nice dense pulls, clean them out, and you can honestly just stay down here in the valley, clear this middle area, pull all these together as one pull, come over here, grab these. The respawn rate is really high here as well. So if you, in the middle of killing these, you might get a bunch of spawns that show up. Then you can kind of grab the pats along the way here, go over to the huts, pull these two, and you can just keep rotating. The spawn rate's high enough where you can just keep clearing these over and over and over. It is amazing. If you have a big group, I would say the Scale Cracker is probably a little bit better if you have a small group, because this one, some of these pulls can be quite challenging, but if you have a big raid group, this one is amazing. Next is Cobalt Assembly, right here in the Azerspan. I'm sure people are going to disagree with us on this one. There are people that really like this one just because you can do the Cobalt Assembly farming, and that's probably the only redeeming factor for it. I think the density here is not great. especially if there's more than like 5 people doing it. The respawn rates kind of suck, and the mobs are really far spaced out. You can grab a pack here. You can move over. You can grab some down inside. This whole platform can be pulled together, and then you can pull these two together. But they're slow. The elementals you kill, they grow into giant elementals and take a long time to die. And even then, the overflow they drop is it's bad. And I know there's gonna be some people out there saying, but Drybear did a group and we got lots of overflow. It's one of the worst ones. So if you have the option and you don't care about Cobalt Assembly farming, then I would say skip this one. This is one of the ones that I would say, if it's on the map, who cares? It's not worth it. It's slow, it doesn't give a lot, and there's a lot of just really weirdnesses about it. But you can do it. It does give you the Wild Arcana, so you can do the buffs, which can help. There are not that many great ones, but you can use them. But if you see a storm here and you want to do Cobalt Assembly anyways, and it lines up, sure. But if you're just kind of farming the best ones, Cobalt Assembly is one of the worst. Next is Brackenhide Hollow in Azure Span, which is here on the west coast all the way over. I almost put this one in the bad camp, but I was able to find a way to really maximize it. There's only a couple rare spawns here, and they're a little disparate. It's not the best. It's not as good as some of the other spots where you get tons of rare spawns constantly while you're grinding this. But what's really good about this is these per mob, per amount of damage you need to deal, drop some of the highest elemental overflow overall. I've done a single pull, and from that pull, that loot pile was like 96 elemental overflow. It is ridiculous how much they drop. They're a little spaced out, and the problem with this spot is getting people to be in the right spot. Like you see some of these spots out here don't have crazy density. This valley is great, you can clear this, but some of the spots in between don't have a lot of mobs. And if you get stuck here killing these one by one, it gets really inefficient. But there are some spots in here that are really nice. Like this valley right here is really good. And you can get some really good drops of elemental overflow. And per capita, they drop a bunch. Lastly, let's talk about Thaldraszus. I'm going to tell you right now that I think anytime there is a primal storm in Thaldraszus, you should probably skip it. Both of the storm locations here, there's one in Tier Hold, and there's one down here on the Temporal Conflux, and they both suck monkey balls. They're pretty bad. So the one that's down here, Temporal Conflux, you'll first arrive here, just so you're aware. You'll first arrive here and nothing will be elementally imbued. And the reason for that is the storm is not actually here. You have to come up here and go to the time portal that leads to the frozen version of it, and then you go inside in the Primalist future, and that is where the primal storm is actually taking place. It shows up on your map. It may be confusing. It was confusing for me, but once you come to the Primalist future version of this area, these mobs will be elementally imbued. The reason I think this one is probably one of the worst ones is that the mob density is terrible. They're really spaced out. There's not that many. There's also a bug right here where when you step in like towards this little platform, you'll actually lose the elemental, like the primal storm. So some of the mobs here will disappear, they'll phase in and out, or they'll lose their elemental imbue, and I've lost a lot of elemental overflow that way. This area on the top is the best spot, but the respawn rate is really low, and the drop rate of overflow is really low as well. You can see the mob density is just the worst. It is god-awful, it's so bad, everyone, it's just, don't come here. It's really bad. If you see this on the map, I would recommend just skipping it. The other one in Thaldraszus is here in Tier Hold, and this one I think is actually pretty bad. I started out liking this one a lot. You do get some rare spawns like Ancient Protector here, so you're able to get some good value out of that. There's a couple rare spawns you can get some value out of. Boom, there you go. Wow. Anyways, outside of random rare spawns that give you loot when you kill them, I think the density here is pretty bad. So the pulls you can make on this one, I don't think there's enough mobs for a big raid group. You can pull these here. There's so much open space, and the drop rate of overflow here is not great. Super spacious. A lot of people will form a group, and then they'll clear this area, go to this platform, clear, go to this platform, clear. It's terrible. Better option is to come down here and kill the mobs that are here. So you can go inside here, you can grab all these, grab inside the rooms, pull out here. Getting people to come inside here is actually quite annoying because a lot of times they don't know it exists. So they don't come down to kill these mobs. So you'd really want to get a good raid group. But even then, clearing these inside, the drop rate is really low of elemental overflow. they don't always give you what you need. So there's a couple good rares here, but the density sucks, and the drop rate is really low. It's not great. So I would recommend, if you're being choosy, I wouldn't go to any storms that are in Thaldraszus. And if there's 2 storms up, one's in Thaldraszus and one's in any other area, aside from Cobalt Assembly, every other storm location is better than the ones that exist in Thaldraszus. And that's it. That's what I've learned about Primal Storms. Hope you guys can grind it out, get tons of overflow. I think my best so far was getting about 4,500 in the 2-hour span that we had. Lots of pulls, lots of gathering, tons of overflow. Just make sure you have a good group. It helps when you have a tank that can go gather everything up and is pulling constantly as well. And then you guys know basics about grabbing mobs, killing mobs, looting mobs, whatever. Just be careful about choosing which location you go to, and I hope you find all the transmogs and gear and mounts and everything that you need. If you have any questions or comments for me, you'll find me live on twitch.tv/Drybear. Come by and say hi. If you enjoyed yourself today, leave a like down below. You can support me and my work on Patreon and view Patreon exclusive content, link in the description. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I'll see you in the next one.